Family businesses struggled to keep their doors open, and many were forced to close after missing out on federal COVID relief money or when it ran out. One Marietta man allegedly spent millions of taxpayer dollars on cars and luxury. John Schierick explains how he reportedly got rich quick and then lost it all.
This is just one of the luxury purchases that Atlanta federal prosecutors say a fraudster in Cobb County bought with stolen taxpayer money last year. Money meant for struggling business owners who were trying to stay open through the pandemic. But prosecutors say a con artist fooled Uncle Sam out of millions of dollars in Paycheck Protection Program money and spent $1.6 million of it to buy himself this 9,000 square foot property in East Cobb County this past June. The suspect, seen here on his LinkedIn account, claiming to be a pilot, Carl Torjagbo. This week, a federal grand jury in Atlanta indicted Carl Torjagbo, accusing him of fraudulently obtaining a total of $9.5 million in PPP money from the government last year. Prosecutors say as soon as Torjagbo got the money, he went to work spending it on himself, for homes, and for a $118,000 2022 BMW like this one, and for an $87,000 2021 Range Rover like this one. During the past 2 years, we have followed the owners of small businesses across Metro Atlanta who were at risk of going under during the pandemic, unable to get the PPP money that could help them.
And unfortunately, all the funds were already depleted. I just have to rely on some of my personal savings account to keep our staff on and to keep the doors open.
I was not able to pay my staff. The PPP we got was not enough.
According to an NBC News analysis, out of $800 billion in PPP money, fraudsters made off with $80 billion.
Think higher mortgage rates and bigger credit card payments, which we'll get into in just a moment. What's it all about? Well, the Fed hopes the increase will start putting the brakes on inflation, which is running at 40-year highs. Gas, food prices, you name it, it's all soaring. Investors like the news today. The market's rallying on the Fed announcement. Policymakers weighing future increases while trying to steer around the risk of a recession. Let's tell you what you need to know about all this, starting with Tom Costello.
For days, the Fed has telegraphed that it would go big today after acknowledging it should have acted sooner to rein in inflation. Today's 3/4 point rate hike is on top of two smaller hikes earlier this year.
We at the Fed understand the hardship that high inflation is causing. We're strongly committed to bringing inflation back down.
By raising rates and the cost of borrowing from mortgages and car loans to big business loans, the Fed hopes to cool the economy without pushing it into recession. Inflation now running at 8.6%, the highest since 1981, and Americans are getting squeezed. To make ends meet, Louisiana special ed teacher and single mom Christina Seal is now selling her plasma to earn an extra $600 a month.
It's something that I have to do in order to keep my family afloat, in order to make sure that there is enough food to go around and the lights are on and I've got gas in my gas tank.
Christina says her monthly bills have nearly doubled. A tank of gas from $40 to $90 a week. Utility bills from $180 to $300. Groceries from $150 to $300 a week. Now she's turning to a local food bank for help.
Things just kept going up. Inflation kept going up and up until my credit card was eventually maxed out.
Cereal, peanut butter.
At the Loaves and Fishes food pantry in Los Angeles, Brenda Hakimian says she no longer feels a part of the middle class.
There's either extreme rich or extreme poor, and the rest of us just kind of fall through the cracks.
Meanwhile, with nearly every American watching more of their paychecks sucked into their gas tank, the national average now $5.01 a gallon, President Biden today accused U.S. oil companies of profiting off the pain at the pump, with oil refining capacity down 3 million barrels a day since 2020. In a letter to 7 oil CEOs, Mr. Biden writes, at a time of war, refinery profit margins well above normal being passed directly onto American families are not acceptable. But the oil industry believes the Biden White House has been hostile as it tries to go green. 6 refineries have gone offline, many in need of overhaul to meet environmental standards. The oil industry says U.S. refineries today are running at or near capacity to meet demand. But still, demand is outpacing supply.
And Tom, continuing supply chain problems, I know, are one of several factors the Fed says is driving this inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the COVID lockdowns in China not helping the supply chain. They're also watching the war in Ukraine, driving up prices and consumer demand. And they expect they will raise rates again in July, maybe by another 0.75 of a point. This will continue through the year. And unemployment likely to rise from historic lows to maybe even above 4% sometime in 2024, Lester.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you. Those rising interest rates, as you heard, will likely send mortgage and other rates even higher in coming weeks, pushing some people to buy now for fear of paying more later. Jolene Kent reports in our series, Price.
Do if you checked your bank account and suddenly found out you were a millionaire. That happened to a former Louisiana sheriff's dispatcher, and instead of notifying the bank, well, she quickly moved the cash into another account, used it to buy a home and an SUV. Kellen Spadoni, who you see here, was arrested for theft and tonight is facing a lawsuit from Charles Schwab after she ignored several of their attempts, they say, to contact her and get the money back. Night court is now in session with civil rights attorney Robert Patillo and criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
Let's start here with Exhibit A. On February 23rd, Schwab meant to transfer $82.56 into a Fidelity brokerage account, services account, but the company instead transferred $1,205,619, court records said. So, Robert, is their mistake?
Is their mistake, but that does not mean you have a legal right to that that amount of money. Even best case scenario, if you were able to keep it, good luck explaining to the IRS where $1.2 million came from and paying the taxes on that. This is no different than finding someone's wallet and deciding to keep it when they ask for it back. Or if a Brinks truck accidentally dropped money off at your door, it does not mean that you are legally entitled to it. There's legal precedents on it where people back in the old days would cash those Publishers Clearinghouse checks that came to your house and occasionally bank to allow the transaction to go through, but then later on when they figured out the funds were not there, they would reverse it. So though I understand that most people don't have sympathy for big banks in situations like this, you don't have a legal right to it and you're going to end up getting in more trouble than it's worth.
It sounds like she is right now, innocent until proven guilty, but facing a lot of charges. Exhibit B, then, we go to. The company argues in its lawsuit that Spadoni's account contract with Schwab, now this came from the Charles Schwab account, includes an agreement that if a client receives an overpayment of funds, the client is required to return the full amount. Brian.
Well, Shannon, first thing I'm going to do in the morning, I'm running over to Charles Schwab. I'm setting up my account there, and then fingers crossed, I get $1 million. Anyway, all kidding aside, last time I checked, we have a criminal court of law, not a moral court of law. And morally, this woman is incorrect, and she should do the right thing.